right, so this is Mike Carpenter, August 26, 2021. This is about what Errol Spence said. Now, I'm going to just say what it says right here. Errol Spence Jr. suffered a retinal detachment break in his left eye during sparring weeks before the scheduled fight with Manny Pacquiao, right? So let's go down here and let's say what Errol Spence said. Not what I said, but what Errol Spence said. During a session at the world-class boxing gym in downtown Dallas, Spence said, that's the key word, Spence said he felt something amiss, stopped the session and said, my eye. Despite the left eye not being right, Spence told ESPN that he sparred again 2 days later and then during the pre-scheduled medical checkup in Dallas. Key word, Dallas. The following day, his fears was confirmed as the doctor said Spence's eyes looked like dark clouds. Now, that was in Dallas. Spence, 27-0, 21 knockouts, was told not to spar until he was examined by the eye specialist. You don't want to lose your eye, the doctor warned him. Okay, now, after consulting with the PBC founder Al Heyman, Spence immediately traveled to Las Vegas. Now, this is Las Vegas Medical. August 8th for the comprehensive pre-fight medical testing. The eye exam was conducted August 9th by the ophthalmologist Dr. Thomas F. Kelly, who told him he couldn't fight and you got to get the eye fixed ASAP. Okay? With the diagnosis of the retinal detachment, not a torn, a detachment. Spence, ESPN number 4 pound-for-pound boxer, was deemed unfit to fight in what was to be the biggest event in his career, blah, 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 la, 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 right? So, I'm going to leave the description below, right? And you're going to go and read it yourself.
All right, so when you read that, there's a lot of things that's not, a lot of people on Spence's side, his dominions and stuff, they was pushing this thing about, one, it was torn. Two, Errol Spence did not know until he went to the doctor. Let me repeat again. This is what they was pushing in the beginning. This is what they was pushing. Errol Spence did not know he had eye problems until he went for the pre-examination, right, for the fight in Nevada. He didn't know. But now you hearing Spence said, well, while I was in Dallas sparring, well, I had to stop sparring because my eye. Okay, so in the beginning, we was getting false advertisement, false propaganda about he didn't know what was going on with his eye until he got the pre-examination, not in Dallas, but in Nevada, right? And then they told him he had eye problems. Then they were saying that he saw 3 doctors, right? But so far in this article that I'm reading with Mike Carpenter, but it's not Mike Carpenter talking, it's Errol Spence explaining what happened, right? He said he got his eye tested after sparring. He had to stop his sparring session. I'm not saying this, Errol Spencer. He had to stop his sparring session, right? So the ophthalmologist in Dallas, they checked his eye. They said, you got something going on wrong. So he got a second opinion, but his second opinion was not a big deal because the second opinion, he had to have a second opinion because he had to fight, right? And he had to have a pre-examined fight to fight Manny Pacquiao, right? And they said, nah, man, you can't fight. You got to get that eye fixed. It's detached. So there's a lot of lying here. And there's a lot of false advertisement making it sound like everything is easy, right? That, oh, he didn't know and this and that. But he got it in sparring, right? He said he got it in sparring. He didn't say. All these other channels said that. But see, they're not bringing that back up and trying to fix it for you. Let be, right? Yeah, let be. So, he's going to the point where he got a detached retina. Well, let's move on a little bit more and see what else it says in this article.
So right here, it says, this is what he said now, all right? For now, Spence is restricted from doing any remotely strenuous, no strength and conditioning, no running, and definitely no sparring. He said, this is what Spence said, I can't do nothing but walk. Spence says, I got to sleep on my left side. I got to put eye drops in. I know I can't spar for probably like 2 months, but I'm optimistic about when I can start jogging. Hopefully that will be next 3 weeks or so.
All right, so we all know when it comes to a torn or detached retina, they give you about the same matter of weeks, 2 to 4 a month. Everybody heals different. We all know that. Everybody has healing properties in their body that's different, right? So where do we go here with this, right? And what'd you say? Oh, I hear you, man. I hear you, bro. You saying why am I doing this when you don't think that wait, I think he's ducking. Well, this is how I do it, right? If you're ignorant and you're loud and obnoxious and you don't listen and you have no reason, well, he's a duck. Because I could play the ducking game just as much as you could play the ducking game. But if you have some reason, just like in one of my videos, I said, listen, I do believe him. I do believe him, right? But for the people that like to say, critical thinking is out the window, right? So-and-so, because I don't give you an example right here. I'm going to give you an example. When Keith Thurman had injuries and he was out for like 2 years, right? What was people saying? Spence fans, what y'all was saying? Huh? What was y'all saying? Oh, Keith Thurman one time, he's not one time, he's this, he's that, he's ducking, he's making up stories, he don't have no injuries, we don't believe him. Am I right? Am I right? Don't even go there, boy. So I always play this game on both playing fields, right? If you say he's a duck, if you say Manny got injured and this and that and he's old, if you say Keith Thurman is faking his injuries because he don't want to fight Spence, but you expect me to be all dandy with the whole situation and don't say nothing about Errol, but I gotta play that part. That's the part I gotta play. Now, if you got reason, then we could talk about his eye injury. And now we on this part, because let me tell you something right now. In the beginning, there was a lot of lies going on. There was a lot of false channels saying, one, I'm gonna repeat this shit again. One, it was a torn retina. Two, Errol Spence did not know he had eye problems. Three, he checked 3 doctors. Now, 3 doctors, hey, maybe he did, and the other one he didn't report it, but I know he reported 2. The one in Dallas when he was sparring and he had to check his eye because he was saying he's seeing stuff in his peripheral vision. And then when he had to go to the pre-checkup for the examination for the pre-examination for the fight, then that's when they told him, yo, listen, yo, you gotta get that eye fixed, yo. And that's a detached. So, when it comes to Errol Spence, what is going on with him in the future? All right, and what I expect from him in the future, if anything, and what he needs to do. Well, there's a couple of things with Errol Spence, because we're going to talk about Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, and Ugas, and Bud Crawford. So when it comes to Errol, if he's out, they saying maybe 6 to 12 months. He's saying maybe 2 months he could go back to training, right? Because he can't do anything strenuous. Can't even run, all right? So he'll get back to walking. That's another thing. What about his weight? That's another challenge, because we all know that he had weight problems and he have to get back to weight. He can't get back to training. 2-4 months out, he might be out from training. Now he's saying he's going to come back in 2022. Now, 2022, when in 2022 are you coming back? In the beginning of 2022 or the late 2022, almost 23? Because you've been out. When was the last time you fought? You fought Danny in December, like 20th or something like that. So it's about 8 months. 8 months right now, right? So of course you're gonna tax on that year, and then after that, we don't know where in 2022 you're gonna come back, right? So it could be the end of 2022, whatever, right? Shit, man. But I'm gonna set the example. Because Keith Thurman, he had injuries and he was out. What out, my virgin? He was out 2 years and he fought Manny. And everybody said, well, he was out for 2 years. He didn't, and this and that, and making excuses why Manny beat him, right? My man Manny Pacquiao was out for 2 years and came back and fought a champion. Okay? Now, either you out less than 2 years or 2 years and a month, you was bodily, you was fit, you was ready. It was just the eye. So I don't intend to see you coming back fighting a nobody. I want you coming back to fight. Now, I'm going to get to Manny Pacquiao, but if this situation happens and Manny Pacquiao decides in October that he does not want to, he wants to retire and move on with his political career or whatever that makes him happy, fine. That means, Mr. Errol Spence, you must fight Ugas or you must fight Bud Crawford. Now, watch what I'm coming from now. Watch how I'm coming now, right? Now, here goes the negotiations, right? Here goes the negotiations, right? And it was a big problem with the 60-40. Regardless if you want to blame Crawford or Bob Arum, whatever. That fight didn't happen, right? Y'all keep complaining about Manny Pacquiao holding up the division. He holding the belt. Yeah, I ain't got nothing to talk about right now because we don't know what Manny's going to do. And before Manny steps back into the ring or come back to fight Ugas, because I'm going to tell you right now, well, I'll get to that. Well, let's talk about this negotiation situation. I had a conversation with Best Fight the Best, that bitch-ass nigga, right? And this is what he said about negotiations coming back to the table, because he said two things. He said, when Spence fight, this is the propaganda and the narrative in America. When Spence fight Manny Pacquiao, when it's time to go to the negotiating table with Bud or Ugas, he should be going to get the best negotiation. That means the 60-40 will be for Spence, and the 50-50, Ugas can't ask for that. Let me run the track for you.
He told Ugas, all you needed was something that I wanted. That's all you needed. That is not a 50-50 split fight. It isn't. So Ugas could have said, bro, let's do 60-40 and let him negotiate that, which it really ain't that either. Because Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford is a 60-40 split. That's a 60-40. Errol Spence and Ugas is not 60-40. All right, bro. Hold on, because I let you cook. He could have started there, and they could have negotiated that. He started at 50-50. Trying to drag some shit out. That's his fucking problem. Errol didn't duck him. Errol tried to get him. He tried to drag the shit out. So what did Errol do? Fuck it. I'll take the Manny Pacquiao fight. We can figure out this nigga fight, this nigga shit after I'm finished. Okay. And that, hold up. That does more. That Errol Spence taking the Pacquiao fight does more for Errol in more ways than one. Because if it wasn't Errol Spence fighting Pacquiao, it would have been Bud fighting Pacquiao. So if Errol Spence fights Pacquiao, he cuts Bud's knees out, because we all know that is the biggest fight at welterweight. He cuts his knees out. You can't come to the table telling me I got a Pacquiao fight and you didn't. Let's do 50-50. Because you already beat Pacquiao.
All right, so we getting this negotiation shit out the way before it even start, okay? Because he telling me about how Spence didn't fight Ugas because Ugas wanted 50-50. But there's a lot more than that. I'm not going to go through about why Spence didn't fight Ugas. He fought Mikey. Why he fought Jesse Vargas. But I ain't going to the past. I'm going to the future. Not saying woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know what I'm saying? Like that fucking bozo do. He could have done this. He could have been undisputed. Manny could have done that. Manny could have. He's not 8th division. All that fucking I ain't got time for that, man. I'm going for the head. I'm going for the head, not the chest. So we going for negotiation. So now, since that narrative was that if Errol fought Manny, when it's time to go to the negotiators table, right? He can ask for 60-40 from Crawford, and it would be what it is, because you know he beat the icon, he beat the cash cow, he beat so and so and so and this and that. So that's cool, right? And then he said, for Ugas asking for 50-50, trying to stall the fight and this and that, and he don't want that and he don't want this. When he beats Manny, when Errol beats Manny, he could tell Ugas, cut that shit out with that 50-50. You ain't getting 50-50. I just beat Manny Pacquiao. So since the game rewind, right? And Ugas beat Manny Pacquiao, do he get the same treatment? Do he get the same treatment? I'm just asking, man. Because now Ugas beat Manny Pacquiao, right? So, do he could get 50-50, right? Or he could negotiate with Bud Crawford if that fight was to ever happen, right? If Ugas is still in existence with his belt, right? Yo, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I'm hitting all four corners. All four corners of the whole situation. So, when it comes to Errol Spence, now, I don't know when he's coming back. You know, he could get all these medical exemptions. You know, the IBF could do all these. He could do all this to 2023 if you want to. You know what I'm saying? He'll probably get the exemptions. I mean, Kell Brook, he had broke his orbital bone with Canelo, right? That's another thing. My man broke his orbital bone with Canelo. He came back and fought Spence, and Spence broke his other orbital bone, Kell Brook, right? But he came and he fought. He fought, right? So what I'm trying to say here is this. Kell Brook came back. He also had medical exemptions when he had the IBF. But when he broke his orbital bone with Canelo, he came back, he fought Errol Spence. He broke the other orbital. So what I'm trying to say here with this eye retina, the detached retina, when you heal, right? Because this is what the doctor said. You can't do anything strenuous, right? You can't do anything until it heals. 2 to 4 weeks, 2 to 4 months, 6 to 12 months, whatever it is, when you come back, right? Now, a regular human being, when something like this happened to a regular human being, right? There's nothing strenuous. There's no working out. There's no running. There's no jerking off, right? Nothing strenuous, right? For the average Joe, right? You just go to work, you eat shit, you play, you don't play, you don't do anything strenuous, right? No masturbation, nothing. So now when you come back, you could go back to daily activity. But what is your daily activity, bro? You tell me what's your daily activity. Well, your daily activity is getting punched in the face, right? Your daily activity is sparring, which you got that shit in sparring, right? Not in the accident, but in sparring. We already discussed that with Danny Garcia and the ophthalmologist and shit. And it wasn't caught there at all, right? So, and if it was in Nevada caught it more than Dallas ophthalmologist caught it. So this time around in your training camp, you got it in sparring. So are you really built for this, my dude? Because if Manny could get lumped up, heal, blood clot in the eye, on and on and on, what's coming up with you? I don't want to hear no excuses, my dude. I don't want to hear no excuses about you came back and you lost because of your eye, right? Because guess what? If you beat the next opponent, they won't be talking about, they'll say, well, he had a bad eye injury and he still beat that man. They'll use the excuse in a positive way and in a negative way. So, at the end of the day, I showed you these excuses with Keith Thurman and what Spence Vance said. I'm showing you about the orbital bone with Kell Brook and what happened with him and Canelo and Spence, and he came back and he fight like a champ. When it comes to Spence, I don't want to hear this shit about if he loses, because if he wins, they're going to still say, yeah, you know, he's strong. He's a strong-willed person. You know, you see what happened to him in the accident and what happened. Yo, this thing with this accident, let me get this shit straight. Because they're making it sound like this man is Superman. And I'm tired of this bullshit. When you get into an accident, a couple of things save this man. And I got facts right here. One, he had a convertible Spider, convertible so-and-so Ferrari or whatever the hell it was, right? One, he was drinking intoxicated. Now, everybody has problems. Everybody goes through trials and tribulations. Everybody do faults. I'm not saying it's all about him drinking intoxicated. But he was driving, he was driving intoxicated, right? It happens to the best of us, okay? So that's not the big deal. But he was driving intoxicated, right? And two things that saved him. I believe that saved him. It's not because he's Superman and he's the chosen one and shit's gonna happen. No. When you get into an accident, your car flips. One thing saved him. He didn't wear a seatbelt. Because when you're intoxicated, how many people that's intoxicated remember to put their seatbelt on? Okay? Two, His body went limp. When you drink and you're intoxicated, how many times you hear that the passenger dies and the drunk driver stays alive? Why? Because the body goes limp and it doesn't fight. You see an accident coming, the first thing is to do is to grip, or you feel like you need to gripe, just tense up, right? But when you intoxicated, you don't feel nothing. You going with the flow, all right? So there's two things here. He got ejected out of the freaking Lamborghini or a Ferrari Spider, whatever it is, 448 or whatever it is, and he didn't have a seatbelt. And while he was rolling, he's intoxicated and he didn't feel nothing, or he went with the flow without tensing up, right? That's it. He is not the chosen one to be like, he's so strong, he's so different from everybody else. Because there's facts that show that majority of the time, the one that's driving that's intoxicated lives and the passenger dies. Whoever's in the damn passenger seat or in the back, they all die. So that's nothing new, all right? Let's stop that. Let's move on. So I'm not trying to hear no excuses about, his eye. That's why Errol Spence couldn't perform a certain way in the ring because he had, his eye didn't heal properly. Man, I ain't trying to hear that, man. All these athletes have injuries coming in and going out and coming in. They have injuries, okay? And they fight with injuries, all right? Sugar Ray did it. Bisbee from the UFC did it, right? Yeah, he went blind, but he did it, all right? This is the profession you signed up for. This is what you signed up for, man. So I'm not trying to hear these excuses about negotiations. I'm not trying to hear no excuses about you fighting a fucking cherry pick because you need a comeback fight, right? I'm not trying to hear none of that because you ain't give it to Keith Thurman. And guess what? Oh my God. You was telling Keith Thurman, I'm not going to give you a fight. Tag, you're it now. Because you didn't give me one in the past and you was ducking. You had injuries. You had all these excuses. Now it's my turn. You're not going to get a fight from me. But, bro, there ain't nothing out there for you, man. Fucking spitting. There ain't nothing out there for you, man. But Keith Thurman, but Crawford, and Ugas. Or Manny, if that comes into fruition, he beats Ugas, right? You don't got no more mandatory. Stop it. What over trumps mandatory? Thank you. That's the end of discussion on that one. I don't want to hear nothing about no get back fight because Manny, Keith, they all came back and they fought champions. They ain't fight no get back fight. Well, Keith Thurman did, right? But he fought Manny Pacquiao right after. But for you, my dude, Manny Pacquiao, I'm talking about Manny. 2 years off, and his intentions was to fight you. So if Manny, that 42, can do it, my Negro, my ninja, please, you need to do it. You ain't no exceptions to the rule. If Manny could come back in 2 years, right, and fight a champion, expecting to fight Errol Spence, but then the last minute fight Ugas, and still didn't bitch and complain, and still fought Ugas at the last minute, I don't want to hear nothing about 18 months you off. 2 years you off and you need a get back fight. Yo, I'm ending all this shit right now. Ending it. So I don't want to hear nothing about no Errol Spence. Oh man, because this is what's gonna happen now. This is what's gonna happen because I'm talking about this injury. He came back after that accident. He fought Danny Garcia. He had a pre-examination. What'd you say? I'm gonna cover that too. Oh, with the pre-examination, it's difference between Dallas and Nevada pre-examination. Yo, wherever that fight was, it was an examination, right? And whatever they didn't find then, both places, two different ophthalmologists, two places, guess what? They found in this fight, in this pre-fight, with this sparring camp, right? So if they didn't find nothing then, but they found, both doctors found something now, well, you can't bring up, well, Dallas got a different ophthalmologist and they don't go as far as they don't go as deep as the one in Nevada. All right? Because guess what? Regardless what this ophthalmologist is doing, Nevada looked at it. The same one that's gonna make this fight and the fight happened with Danny Garcia, I think it's in Nevada, whatever. But he got 2, not 3 opinions, 2 opinions on record, what he said out his mouth. 2, not 3. Everybody else say he had 3 opinions, but it's 2. You find another one, let me hear Spence say it, right? I ain't going for what Josh say no more, right? So, after all this is done, you know what's going to happen if he comes back? And he loses? When he loses? If he loses? Because, you know, it is what it is. Because see what happened with Kell Brook, right? He broke an elbow bone. Now, it's difference between an elbow bone and a retinal eye. Don't get ignorant with me. I understand there's different healing properties, but it's not that far away from healing, okay? But he broke one, then he broke another. But that man, he came back and fought, got that money and whatever, right? So when he comes back, well, the excuse is going to be this. This is the excuse. Well, his eye. Right? If Bud Crawford beats Errol Spence, they're going to say his eye. They don't want to hear no excuses from Keith Thurman. They don't want to hear no excuses from Manny Pacquiao. But when it comes to Errol Spence, if he loses, and Ugas or this man, Bud Crawford beat him, they're going to talk about his eye. And like in my video, I made a video that's saying, no regrets, no excuses. Do you hear me bitching on that video? Do you hear me bitching about cramps and shit like that? This is what Manny said, right? He felt like he let down everybody, so he wanted to give an excuse. And I said to myself, don't give no excuses, man. It wasn't your night. It wasn't your day. That can't be excuse. You know why? Because that's your training camp, and they should know fucking better. They should know fucking better not to fucking run you up a fucking hill after doing 39 rounds of fucking sparring. You fucking serious, man? I'm still pissing that shit, man. In my fucking cup so I can piss in it. You know what I'm saying? So, we can use all the excuses why he didn't perform properly. You don't have to give him an excuse. I knew something was wrong in the first and second round. You wasn't moving. You was apparent. You wasn't doing so and so and so and so. So, back to Errol Spence. So, when he comes back and something doesn't happen right, watch these channels start bitching and moaning. Hey, I showed you proof on my channel. I ain't bitching and moaning because I said no regrets, no excuses. Run that back to me. Yeah, all right. So now, watch when we hear this. So now, oh man, what's going on with Bud? Well, he's got a purse bid going on. Regardless if Bob Arum gets it or DAZN gets it or PBC gets it, that's a fight. And that's what I want to see, a fight with Bud Crawford and Sean Porter. And we'll see who the best man win. Simple as that. That's that. Now, Manny Pacquiao. What's going on with Ugas? Now, Manny Pacquiao, he's been balancing on the gate with this political thing and this fight. But now, he's tipping more over to the fighting side. Listen, what did Manny Pacquiao say? Manny Pacquiao said, man, I can't believe I lost to Ugas. He was one of my easiest opponents. That's a hard pill to swallow. You get where I'm coming from? That's a hard pill to swallow. So either you're going to swallow that pill and retire and move on to your political career. But the way it sounds, you don't want that. You don't want that. So, if you're choosing, in a way I'm kind of happy this happened. You see, things happen in certain ways where it could wake up the fighter, to wake up the boxer, right? And if you feel that you need to be politics and you need to be a president, you running and this and that, but you just lost. See, the mindset was there, but now you just lost to Ugas, an easy opponent. Well, the pressure's on you because you kept opening your mouth and saying, Ugas is the easiest opponent, and I should have, could have, and I would have. You're going to be thinking should have, could have, or would have. And that's what fighters don't like to fight, don't like to think. They fighting against themselves when they keep thinking I should have, could have, would have. And you're still in the playing field. So what we going to do, man? What we going to do? Are we going to say, all right, let me get this fight with Ugas, let me bust him down, and then if I feel like it retire, which I wouldn't do, I'll hold on to that belt and see what happens with Errol Spence and happens with Crawford. Even if I'm going to retire, I'll hold on to that belt as long as I can. Yeah, you going to strip me again? you apologize to me. You going to strip me again? What? Whoever ordered to get you stripped, you're going to do it again. All right, so that's what I would do. I'll hold that belt, and let's say Errol and Bud Crawford, y'all go at it. Go at it. Simple as that. Because after that fight with Sean Porter, either he win or loses, and guess what? Ugas ain't told Sean Porter, go take a hike. You're not getting a rematch right now. So where's Ugas' head right now, right? Since he got the belt, and he won the belt by beating Manny Pacquiao. Well, there's a couple of things that's going on, and I'm keeping my eye on this because he said, I will give Manny a rematch. I will give Manny a rematch. So his intentions is, let's hit that money again. Let's get that money again. Regardless if you want to talk about pay-per-views and Errol Spence is the cash cow and he's better than Canelo and Manny Pacquiao and all this shit, because I keep telling you, it takes two to tango. Mayweather and Andre Berta went 480 pay-per-views. Manny Pacquiao and Keith Thurman did 500 pay-per-views. And then at top of it all, everybody's attention is to watch Spence fight Manny Pacquiao. But at the last minute, you let everybody down. So you got a lot of people that was going to go to the fight, pay for the fight, say F the fight, right? So now you got 250 views. Tank Davis got 250 views. Listen, let me ask you a question. This is how I'm going to chop this shit up, right? Who's more famous, Errol Spence or Manny Pacquiao? Who is more noticeable around the world? Once you answer yes that Manny Pacquiao, you could go, you can say all that shit about pay-per-view buys and all this bullshit. Who is more famous? Who is more known? 4 decades. 5 lineal, 8 division. Same thing with your 8th division. You don't want to say he's 8th division, whatever. Nobody listening to you in your fucking channel. Nobody hear about your reason about he should be 7 or 6 division. Nobody cares. Because next time he gets back in the ring, if he gets back in the ring, they're still going to be saying 8th division. While your monkey ass going to be sitting here, I don't think he's 8th division. I think he's 7 and 6. So get the fuck out of here and miss me with that shit. Miss me with that shit, boy. I don't want to hear it. I don't care about your reasoning and what your defining of 8th division is. Or 7 or 6. It's in the record books, right? So, yeah, it's a lot going on because, listen, Errol, let me tell you what's going on, Errol. Don't boys pushing the door in, man. They kicking in the door with that 4-4. I'm telling you, they kicking that door in. I'm talking about Speedy Rashid, Shakur Stevenson, who is it? Virgil Ortiz, my boy Boots Ennis, and Boots Ennis is saying nobody wants to fight him. So guess what, man? Errol Spence, you only got a certain amount of limited people you need to fight when you get back. It's either Bud Crawford, if he wins the fight with Porter, right? If that fight ever happens, we shall see, right? Even though Purse bid in a shit always go for the worst. So we don't even know if that fight gonna even happen, right? Because they might go through this negotiation shit with money and it might not happen, right? You got Ugas or Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao comes back and beat Ugas, right? And never mind about what Manny Pacquiao is doing, okay? When the time comes, it's gonna happen. And for the IBF, I think Boots is like ranked number 6 in the IBF, and the only other person I can see you fighting is your mandatory, Abdul Madavilla. He's been your mandatory for the IBF for the longest. So if you ain't fighting, if you're not fighting Crawford or Ugas or Manny, whichever way that goes, if that fight happened and Ugas stays champion, well, I still don't agree with you fighting your mandatory, because what over trumps mandatories? Champion title fight defense belts. That's it. So you should be fighting Ugas or Crawford. I ain't hearing that shit, son. Never. So if you go back and say, well, I need a touch-up fight. Sounds familiar. Sound like Keith Thurman. I need a get-back fight. I need a get-back fight. Right? And everybody's like, I don't want no fucking get-back. Or you ain't got no injuries. Right? But when it comes to Errol Spence, oh man, he's the chosen one. I am the chosen one. No one should speak negative about me. Right? Oh, I'm coming hard with this shit. So, I don't want to hear no excuses. Now, if the IBF decides they're going to strip you because you ain't fighting your mandatory, hey, it's impossible. You going for a title defense for the championship, right? So, your mandatory should fight, what do you call it? Bruce Ennis. Right? Because nobody want to give, and I just saw the interview with Bruce Ennis, and Bruce Ennis said, yo, man, if they vacate that IBF, and Errol Spence ain't gonna, and Errol Spence is not gonna come and do what he's supposed to do at a certain time, well, that'll be great for me because nobody wants to fight me. So if it's vacant, then I have an opportunity to go for it. Those boys are pushing, they kicking in the door, man. They kicking in the door, them young bucks, man. What the hell's going on with you? You 31, Spence. What, Crawford's 35? Ugas is 35? Your times are up, man. No more cherry picking. No more excuses. Yo, your networks got to get it together or y'all going to miss the pot. Y'all going to miss the pot. Shit, man. Let me pause it because I had an idea. I don't want to mess it up, right? Oh, so this is when I had to come back with Ugas. So Ugas said, yes, definitely, I'll give Manny Pacquiao a fight. Do you agree with me, you fucking idiot? Do you agree that everybody agrees that Ugas said, yes, I would give Manny Pacquiao a rematch. It would be his honor to give him a fucking rematch, right? But wait, as time goes by, what if somebody whispers something in Ugas' ear and said, nah, it don't make no sense giving Manny Pacquiao a rematch. Look at the pay-per-view buys, right? That shit should have been on Fox. That shit should have been on Fox, yo. See, they set this shit up for failure, yo, in every way. You switch the opponents at the last minute, then you expect to have high numbers of pay-per-view buys, 300 or 350 buys, right? But then you did a rope-a-dope on everybody, and then you expect something. But you could use that as an excuse to say, Ugas, it don't make no sense taking a chance with that old man, right? It don't make any sense. You see, he's not a pay-per-view star. You see, he doesn't make that. You should fight either Errol Spence or or the winner of Crawford and Sean Porter. If Sean Porter win, you should fight him and get a rematch and all this stuff. I'm expecting down the line that Ugas won't give Manny Pacquiao a fight. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Ugas decides to stay with the same energy and go for Manny. But for some reason, somebody whispers something in his ear and say, nah, he don't make good pay-per-views. He's old. You don't need to give him a rematch. Stick in your era, right? Which is not a problem. He could do that, right? But if his intentions in the beginning was he wanted to give Manny a fight, and then later on in the middle of it's not working out that way, something's going on. Something is going on. That's my conspiracy. It's my opinion. It's not a factual opinion, but when somebody say they're going to do something and then they don't do it, somebody was talking that shit in their ear, right? So now we got rid of Manny Pacquiao. He can't come back, and if he comes back, he can't fight no one on the top division. If that happens, I'm just saying if. I'm not hoping that happens. I hope he could get his rematch with Ugas if he decides to come back, right? Because right now, Manny Pacquiao got that on his mind. See, if he had beat Ugas, he would still be thinking about what he's going to do. But that thing is still in the back of his head. And he's saying he's the easiest opponent. Well, man, you better get to work and show that in the next fight and bust this homeboy down in 5 to 6 rounds. Not another decision. All right? So, I'm just going through the economics. I'm just going through the excuses. I'm just going through all the lies. I'm going through all this. Because Shakur Stevenson, Virgil Ortiz, Bruce Ennis, all of them are waiting, man. They waiting. And y'all been hold up the division. Y'all talking about Manny holding? Y'all in your 30s, yo. Y'all holding up the division. So listen, that's my proof right there. That's my proof, what I'm trying to tell you. Don't be blaming shit on Manny. When Errol comes back, maybe in 2023, maybe the IBF will let him have all the medical exemptions he want. Maybe the WBC, it was the WBC sucks on the PBC's ass and whatever, lick their ass and let Errol have the fucking belt forever, right? Or when he comes back and he starts sparring, and see this is what I'm talking about, being built for this shit, man. You see Manny Pacquiao, he fought Ugas, he had a blood clot in his eye, his face was all messed up. He fought wars and sparring. He overdid it. Yo, what's up, bro? He overdid it. He cramped up. No excuses, no regrets. That was his training camp that didn't do him right. He probably overtrained himself, not knowing that he needs to slow down. At a certain age, you need to at least have more days to recoup, right? Not have a massage one day and then go into the fight the next day. Telling your muscle a whole lot of shit, right? But there's no excuses and no regrets. I want the same time span, 2 years. Keith had off. Manny Pacquiao had 2 years off. I don't want to hear nothing about he got to get a get-right fight. He got to get a... Oh, Thurman came back. He fought so-and-so. He almost lost and he fought Manny. I don't want to hear these excuses, man. I don't want to hear nothing, man. Manny did not fight nobody. He came back on the intentions to fight Errol Spence. That's what his intentions were. And ended up fighting Ugas at the last minute, right? But nobody want to hear no excuses. I don't want to hear it either, right? But when Errol comes back, I hope this brother, if he don't want to do the 60-40 with Bud Crawford and Ugas is still there and Manny decides to move on, bro, give that man what he wants. I ain't trying to hear that you're not fighting Ugas because you got a mandatory or Ugas is asking for too much. Because I already showed you the proof that whatever it is, he can ask for. He beat the icon. This is what your narrative was pushing. He beat the icon. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Don't run these games with me. Yo, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here for you to read between the lines and think really hard. Think really hard before you want to be ignorant and stupid. Because like I said, we can play the ignorant game and say everybody's a ducker. And I would say he's a ducker even though there's reason to it. I can say that. All right, man. It's a wrap, yo. To next.